Hello, everyone, and welcome to a visual novel called Living with Ghosts. This is a visual novel about that living with the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. So, if you want to check out the opening performance next month, we'll keep a seat free for you. It'll be really fun, promise. Of course I want to see it. I'll ask one of the guys if they can take care of the critters for me. Then I can make a trip to the city. Can't miss those baffled looks from the audience after all. Oh yeah, they're gonna wonder how we can change our costumes so fast. Come on, we gotta make sure we don't miss that carriage back. Carriage back. I'm coming. Take care, guys. Remember, it's the night of mischief, of course, and we'll be the one causing the mischief. See ya soon, sis. The house was generally quiet, but it only ever felt as such shortly after the twins had taken their leave. They had a habit of feeling every moment with so much liveliness and fun that the absence of it was all the more noticeable. This never lasted long, however, as Blossom went on her evening routine and the silence was filled by her own thoughts. Truly, her life was an inexpugnable fortress. Inexpugnable fortress of habits and chores. It was what kept her going, and she took pride in it. And still, she felt a weight of loneliness on her heart. When she eventually laid down to sleep, it didn't keep her from dozing off, as solitude was a familiar bedside companion. It wasn't any blunt, sudden sound that woke up Blossom that night. No shrieking, or bumping, or scraping, or wailing. The sound that lured her from her sleep was a soft, gentle humming. It came from outside, as if someone on the veranda was singing into the night. Who could it be, and why did the melody sound so familiar? Once her drowsy mind made the first active effort to think, she shivered. Of course she recognized the lullaby. She had heard it many times when she was a child. When she was playing between the peonies, rubbing bay leaf between her fingers, or when she was comforted in strong, soft arms, she had heard it. Blossom rose, and she walked down towards the doors to the backyard with slow, soft footsteps. She had to investigate the sound. If her suspicion was right, she would later regret it if she didn't look. As she stepped out into the backyard, Blossom's breath caught her in her throat. Mom? Sweetheart, want to sit with me for a bit? Blossom pinched herself in the hand, hard. It wasn't a dream. Sure enough, she was really here. Her mother was sitting in the garden chair, her favorite spot. The veranda was illuminated by a white glow, like pale fire, the bright flame of the heart. Whether through fate or rare coincidence, her spirit had slipped over into the physical realm. There was a faint transparency to her form, like opal or frosted glass. And yet, she looked healthy, and so alive, so present, just how Blossom remembered her from her childhood, before the illness began. Come on, join me for a bit. Yeah. She approached very carefully, as if any clumsy noise would cause this whole scene to go pop like a bubble. Are you done with homework? Yes. She was done with homework. She had been done with homework for 5 years. Was she not aware that she would look different? That she was older? So, how are you? Good. You know, I'm fine as long as things are peaceful around here, and it really is nice to be able to sit outside. It's getting a bit chilly though. That's just autumn, isn't it? The cool night air was biting at Blossom's ankles, and how she was only dressed in her pajamas. But she knew better than to leave and fetch a jacket. True. How about we make an apple pie later? We have so many good ones in storage now, and they're best to eat when they're fresh. Sure. Blossom blinked with realization. Her mom didn't know what state she was in. To her, this was just any regular day. How much did she remember? Where's your pa? Is he busy right now? Yeah, he is out doing something, another soil examination. Go figure. He really can't leave his dirt alone. And the twinsies? They're sleeping. Suits them. I really hope they're not always going to leave you with all the tough work around here. That would be hardly unfair. That would hardly be fair. Blossom swallowed and fidgeted with her pajamas. None of the things she had said were a lie, exactly. She could assume that her brothers were asleep at this hour of the night, but they were not here. They were out to act the hell out of the theater hall in Pittsburgh every week, living their dream. And her father, well, he really couldn't leave his dirt alone. It was why he left as well, because you can only examine the same patch of soil that many times before it gets to you. Each letter he sent was filled with joy to pursue his occupation out there, to be granted that chance. And Blossom was still here, the only one who was still in Leibewold, the only one who could witness this. Her mother had changed, it was true. The eyes that she had known to be a deep and comforting brown were now swirling vortexes of blue with an almost vacant gaze. And yet it was so unmistakably her, like a familiar smell or the sight of a dappled light underneath a tree. The resemblance to her living form was as inescapable as a memory. How was Blossom supposed to keep her composure when her mind was racing with so many things she wanted to say, things that had been brewing in her mind for years? Speak. Come on, you can do it. Are you all right, dear? Yes. You look as if there is something on your mind. You know you can tell me. How easily she saw through her. Blossom had forgotten what it was like to have someone there who saw her so clearly and attentively, so inescapably. If only she were as good as an actor as her brothers. It reminded her of the warm spring days, when her mom was ironing out the crease in her soul, very lovingly, even carefully straightening out a crumpled collar. Why was she now hiding what was on her mind? Didn't she owe her honesty? Speak. It must be something bad if you don't want to tell me. Her mother's brow was creased with worry. Oh dear, is this something with the Salia boy? He can stay over if it's getting worse for him at home. It's not that. Blossom clutched onto her pants, enough for her knuckles to brighten. She had to talk. She had to. Her chest was going to tear apart if she didn't. Speak! Oh boy, I can't. I just want to hear her talk. I love you, Mom. She squeezed the words out of herself as if they'd be the last ones she could ever say. Her mother reached out a hand towards her and paused. She looked at her translucent palm, the slow realization making its way across her face. And then finally, acceptance of the unavoidable reality of herself. The veil had been lifted. Blossom couldn't hold herself together at the sight. It was painful, and it was living in its finality. Her mother rose, slapping non-existent dust from her spectral clothes, and approached. Why are you crying, love? Because I miss you. I missed you too, love, so much. And I'm sorry. It's all right. Blossom meant it, but it didn't sound very convincing. You didn't want any of it to happen. It's not your fault. None of that. I know, but I'm still sorry. I'm sorry that I had to leave, and I'm sorry that I'll have to leave again. You're sure that you can't stay? Her mother sighed deeply, and her next words were barely a whisper. I'm so sorry. Blossom's throat felt too tight to speak. She simply could put her arms around her mother's glossy form, wishing that she could hold her in this world like this. I want to sit with you on the veranda tomorrow again, talk about the birds, make some lunch out of those pumpkins. I want to hold your hand when we run errands in town. I don't want you to be alone. It's not fair. This was torture. How could she hold her now, and yet have no power to keep her here? So utterly powerless. Gently, the spirit lifted a hand to her daughter's cheek, and Blossom leaned into the touch. She could see the damp, glistening leaves of ivy through her mother's chest. I can't hold on much longer. I'm slipping. She was straining from much more than just sadness now, the effort of her form being in disagreement with this world. I love you so much, my baby, and I'm so proud of you. I love you too, Mom. Please be good. She interrupted herself with a wet chuckle. What am I saying? I know you'll be. You'll be amazing. You already are. Blossom squeezed her tightly, even as she felt the form become lighter in her arms. It was what she would have wanted to do those many years ago, to hold on to her desperately, uselessly, to not be doomed to wait in front of a doctor's office. Eventually, her entire form had faded to mist. The light disappeared, and Blossom found herself alone, as if the whole experience had been a dream. It was exactly what she had always been afraid of, to be left alone in the dark. She sank towards the embrace of the earth and whispered words to the ground, hoping that they could reach to the other side. I love you, Mom. I love you. It spilled from her lips like a mantra. At least now she was free to feel, to embrace the grief and the cold and the salty taste of tears. This was it. She would never see her mom again. Gone for good. She pressed her numb fingers into the grass which had been so lush during the summer, but was now hanging down flat like messy, wet hair. There was so much she could have told her, so much that had been on her mind. But they had only ended up talking about normal everyday things for the most part. I told her the most important thing, didn't I? She had told her mom how much she loved her, but did she also say it often enough back then? Did she make her feel loved every day? Blossom winced, as if the thought itself was causing her physical pain, as much as she told herself that she could have somehow saved her mom back then. If she had been wiser, there was nothing else she could have done, and yet she made herself feel guilty because the guilt was easier to bear than the truth. It was nothing Blossom could have done to prevent it. Then she may again not be able to save loved ones in the future. Was she truly powerless against the hand of fate? Would she not be able to save them? It still matters that I try. Maybe I have done my part to save others all along. Blossom's gaze traveled to the garden path, to a spot underneath the apple tree. There she had sat with Moth when he read her his poems for the first time, his hands trembling. He had kept glancing at her, probably waiting for her to burst out in mocking laughter, and she never did. And over there on the bench, she had bandaged her little brother's knee. He had scraped it on the pavement, and Blossom played I Spy with him until he stopped crying. These moments were important, and as the years went by, they had not become any less meaningful, but rather more so. They were moments of love. Someday, they may be disasters that she couldn't prevent, but it still mattered that the love was there. Because it was always about love. It was always about people. Realizing this with so much conviction soothed her somewhat, and her tears stopped flowing. She had stripped away guilt and fear, and what was left now was grief and a passion that burned brightly in her heart. What was grief, if not a form of love? Suddenly its shape and meaning looked so familiar, like a friend. The grief she had felt all those years ago, now transformed. She would be able to bear it. She would allow it to continue changing. There were so many people that she cared about right in this moment. She decided that she would get up the next morning and see them. Breathing in the air of the garden one last time, Blossom headed back inside. Out from the damp chill of the night, to where it was warm and dry and silent, without looking back. She heard each of her own footsteps so clearly, every creaking step on the wooden stairs while she returned to her bedroom. It was real, physical. She was still there, despite everything. As she dozed off to sleep, she decided that she would bake an apple pie on the next day. Apple pie ending. Oh, what a beautiful story, and there's some other things that we can go over still. Let's load this one. It still matters that I tried. Blossom's gaze traveled down the garden path to the spot underneath the apple tree. There she had sat with Moth and looked at his bruised fingers and listened to his trembling voice as he tried to tell her how he got them. At the time, it had driven her mad with injustice. It still did. There was nothing she could do as a scrappy teen, other than watching and listening helplessly as her friend got hurt. But Moth had said something funny then. You being angry on my behalf already makes it better. She had cared. Perhaps that had done its part to eventually make him stand up for himself. If love was the only weapon she had, she would wield it furiously and unyieldingly. She had to. Because it was always about love. It was always about people. Realizing this with so much conviction soothed her somewhat, and her tears stopped flowing. She had stripped away guilt and fear, and what was left now was grief and a passion that burned brightly in her heart. What was grief, if not a form of love? Oh, we just got a little less dialogue with that. So if we load it to here, just like the living do, it was how they would have spoken to each other on any regular day. For these brief moments, it was as if her mom was alive again. Those small moments, those everyday conversations, had they been the most important thing all along? You never know when you're seeing someone for the very last time. She only knew it was it this time around, and it had left her feeling paralyzed. As much as she told herself that she could have somehow saved her mom back then, if she had been wiser, there'd be nothing else she could have done. And yet she made herself feel guilty, because guilt was easier than the truth. Okay. Alright, I'm going to load this. You are a ghost. I love you, Mom. She squeezed the words out of herself as if to say the last one she could ever say. Okay. I think I'm sorry that I couldn't save you. I love you, Mom. Yeah, I think it's gonna be the same. And it's all gonna be the apple pie ending. There's nothing we can do. Alright, guys. That was Living with a Ghost. I admit, it made me cry. It made me cry when I said I loved you to Mom. Mom seems very awesome. And hopefully, Mom gave Blossom the closure that she needed and more appreciation for her worth. And I hope you guys find appreciation with yourselves for your own worth to other people. That is Living with Ghost. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and goodbye.